Sorry. Alrighty, is this working? Did I actually make it work? If anybody is here, let's hope somebody's here. I hope the link worked. I don't know if I am as pixely as I look on live. It says I have 0 viewers. I can't tell if anybody is here. I am going to find out by going on my, let me make a technical difficulties thing. Technical. Okay, thank God. Okay, because I'm like, thank you. It has been a doozy getting on here. Um, I'm sorry if I think there's a lag. It says 4 for me. It says 0. So I don't know. Now it says 5. So I think there's just, this is my first time doing this um, through this program, or really streaming, in a very, very long time. I think the last time I streamed was when I was a 20-year-old life coach with no life experience. If you want that story, let me know. And I used to do daily Facebook lives, and I have not done a live literally on Instagram. I have not done a live on YouTube, but I'm using Streamlabs and it's the first time. So if y'all are saying that I look good and I sound good and I see people here, yay! Thank you, thank you, thank you all for coming. I can't tell you how excited, anxious I was leading up to today and this event and being here. I am wishing, hoping that Skyla gets better very, very soon, because being sick is no fun. I've been having sinus issues myself, and that's what she's been dealing with. So go send her some love. Go order House of Hearts if you have not. And thank you for being here. So if you are here, send me some love in the comments. Like, just say hello. Hi, what's your name? Have you pre-ordered? Have you not pre-ordered? Let's chit chat. This is the virtual kickoff event. So it is the very first event for DEA, which Deadly Ever After, for those of you who don't know. The actual physical starts tomorrow at Octavia's Bookshelf over in Pasadena with Elise Bryant, which is a dream come true. So if you are in LA and you are free and you want to say hello and you want one of the pre-order presents that I've been working on to watch the new It series on HBO, you should come. So yes, how are we doing today? I'm excited. It's been such a journey getting to this point. And also, if anybody has this is kind of going to be a long form question and answer, in the sense of, if you have questions about Deadly Ever After at any given point, drop them in the comments. Let me know. I'm chit chatting. I'm ready. I'm ready to be here with y'all. And you get it. But yes, it has been such a journey getting here. Only because, for those of you who don't know, this is my debut novel, Deadly Ever After. It's on, all the random green imagery. I'm gonna move my camera so you can see more, this beautiful, beautiful poster. And then I have, my agent gifted me this, it's mirrored. And then I have the extra copies up there. I have extra copies everywhere. I use it as decor at this point. I love it. Oh my gosh, Texas. I love Texas. I actually love Texas. There was a brief moment last year. My partner and I were actually considering moving to Texas. Fun fact. We did not end up moving to Texas, but I always joke that Dallas, I am one impulsive decision away from moving to Dallas. I'm just one minor impulsive stint, because I was not expecting to fall in love with Dallas as much as I did. I think, so for those of you, I keep saying for those of you who don't know, but it's my first time here. I don't know how much you know. I don't know how many of you follow all of my random bits on Instagram, right? But I'm originally from New Jersey and Florida. My partner jokes I'm from all of the memeable states, basically. I get very defensive about my states, that being said, but I spent the first half of my life in New Jersey. I spent the second half of my life in Florida. And I've been here in LA for about 2.5, going on 3 years. And yeah, I loved I love Florida so much. It's actually why I'm calling it my mini homecoming tour, because I'm really focusing on Florida and being here in California. But when I was in Dallas, this has to do with Texas. When I was in Dallas, it was so interesting because it reminded me of St. Pete, right? St. Petersburg, Florida, and like also a little bit of Orlando, minus all of the Mickey Mouse memorabilia that's everywhere. Because if you're in Orlando, you're basically just in Mickey Mouse land, regardless of what part of Orlando you're in. It's just something you gotta deal with. Um, Jenny, stop! You're from Tampa? Stop! Yeah, I'm from St. Pete. St. Pete. I have been visiting since 2000. Moved there in 2008, and I only moved in 2022. I lived in Orlando for a bit, but I was still in St. Pete like once a month, twice a month, so I still kind of claim it. But yeah, I'm staying in Tampa. That's so funny. Small world. Wow. Um, but yeah, Dallas just reminded me a lot of like the parts of Florida that I love and that I grew up in. So who knows in the future? Um, Nowhere in the near future, probably. Probably. But I love Dallas. In Chicago, I saw someone mention Chicago. Hi, Ray. Thank you, Ray. Appreciate it. I did not just spend the final 10 minutes because I've been running around slapping it on my face and being stressed, not knowing how it was going to turn out. So that definitely didn't happen. But if it did, just thank you. But Chicago, I've never been to Chicago. I've actually never been to the Midwest outside of going to Chicago here for a layover. But that is on my list of cities. I have a friend who she's from Chicago, and I have never met a weirdo from Chicago. Chicago has some of the dopest people I've ever met in my life. So that's actually on my list of places I really, really want to visit. Um, just, I love people from Chicago. So I can't remember who said it. Somebody said Chicago. I saw it in passing. But yes, how are we doing today? It is a Saturday. Thank you. I'm just going to keep thanking you throughout this entire live. Thank you for spending your time here with me. I am going to be doing the live giveaway a little bit later on. I'm going to try to give people a bit more time to pop in, um, just because life is life. People forget. I'm the queen of, oh, you were going live? I would have seen that. And then I see it like right as they were getting off. So I'm planning to do that a bit farther in. But yeah, how are we doing? It's the end of the year. We've been reading. I just learned that Chicago's like the third largest city in the US. Wow. That's a fun factoid. See, I don't know why. So, okay, growing up, I grew up in Jersey, right, for like the first 12, 13 years of my life. And the number one thing that they drill into you is New Jersey is the third smallest state in the entire U.S., right? Like the third smallest, you can barely get smaller than New Jersey. You can cross almost all of Jersey in like an hour and a half. That is just what it is. Um, I moved from Jersey to Florida, and I remember somebody told me when I moved to Florida that we were one of the biggest cities, not like in the U.S., but in all of Florida. I don't know if that's true anymore. So it's like whenever I hear a city's like the third biggest, I'm like, because I hear this about almost every city, and I'm just like, but are you though? Because that's like a fun claim to fame. Um, so I am gonna look that up now. Like, what is that? Actually, no, screw it. And I don't know if I can share my screen with y'all. My partner, he goes live a lot. And when he goes live, he loves to share his screen so y'all can see everything that he's been like, so you can see what he's been like pulling up. This is my first time going live, so I don't necessarily know if I can do that. But I do want to Google to see what are the largest states, because that's just like a fun factoid. And if anybody has any questions about, I don't know, am I lagging for y'all? Let me know if I'm lagging for the record, because it looks like I'm lagging. Um, Let me know if we have any questions about Deadly Ever After. Do you guys just want me to talk about DEA? Do you want me to just, do just strict Q&A? I'm kind of here doing whatever y'all want to do. You know what I mean? Like, I really love when Skyla and I were planning on doing this together, yes, it was going to be a back and forth like kind of conversation, but I told her when I pitched it, I was like, I'm thinking of something just super chill, a bit, but not your voice. Okay. Hopefully, because I was closing out of my browser and all of a sudden things got a little wonky. So now that the browser is closed, it looks like everything's fine on this end. So I think if I look things up, I'm just going to use my very old phone to look things up instead. But I do want to look up all the largest states. The largest cities. So yeah, how would y'all how do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do the full DEA spiel pitch, random fun facts? What questions do you have about this lovely story that I have spent 5 years of my life on? I can tell you DEA funny stories. This FaceTime, yeah, I kind of like the FaceTime format, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's fun, it's silly, it's goofy, you know what I mean? I will say, being surrounded, and I've thought this so many times, that I'm surrounded by like my own IP. You know how, let's go back 10-ish, 11, 12 years ago. And everyone's like, oh yeah, if you have your face as your screensaver, that's just so cringe. Like, that's like, why would you do that? That's so weird. Sometimes as I sit around all the DEA stuff, it's just, I kind of remember this. And I'm like, am I doing the book version of what they used to say about being your own screensaver? If I am, I don't care. I was also my own screensaver 10 plus years ago. But it is funny, like, looking at it now, because I don't like Zoom often. I don't get online like this often. It's just everywhere I'm looking, I'm like, dang. Did I write this book because I really was into the story, or did I write it just because I was tired of buying decor that I didn't have anything to do with? Who knows? Want to know the princess's backstory? Why princesses? Is there a love or connection to the concept and role of princesses? Yes. Yes. So that's actually a really fun question. Very loaded question, but in a fun way. I've spoken about this a little bit on whether it be Instagram, I think Substack, just over the years, but I have a very personal connection, a very, very personal connection to princesses, and it almost made the idea of doing a fairy tale daunting, if I'm being honest with you. Because growing up, I always call it back to the 1997 Roger and Hammerstein Cinderella. That's with Randy and Whitney Houston, the one that has some season to it, you know. That movie is essentially, I like to joke and say it's the cornerstone of my personality, but more than that, it is really the cornerstone of my faith, as silly as that sounds. I picked up a lot of my ideologies around the world and myself from fairy tales specifically. And the idea of, we all know how like these stories go, right? Like any story really. It doesn't even have to be a fairy tale or like a princess specifically, but it's, character has bad backstory, or character has this really big struggle. People didn't think the character would make it. The character fucked up and proved them wrong. And I think for me, growing up, hi, I don't know if you know this, I'm black, but growing up black, not knowing I was queer, should have known after I saw Halle Berry and Catwoman in around 2003. Should have known. That would have been the moment. Oh well, in hindsight. Not knowing I was neurodivergent, not knowing I had ADHD, having, I'm not going to say emotional dysregulation situations, but also just having very big emotions and feeling things very, very deeply at a very young age, a very high level of empathy. It wasn't really something that was strongly encouraged. And I found myself very down and out, and I'm in the group because I have to be in the group, not because I'm wanted. Does that make sense? And because of that, I was like a very lonely child. And going back to like Cinderella, it was in my own little corner, using the imagination to really escape and build your own world, and this idea that, yes, I am royalty, it almost became like a self-worth thing. And as I got older, as I, I want to say mental health problems really started manifesting as puberty hit, it was almost my coming home, if that makes sense, where I would be going through, let's say, a lot of depression, anxiety, or worse. And the thing that kept me tethered to wanting to be here and to wanting to be alive was this idea of happily ever after, of the princess gets the true love. She gets the thing she wanted, a restaurant, like, and it's not just Princess and the Frog, it's not just true love, but it's the idea that you can have whatever you want and that you are not a bratty way, but you are entitled to the things that you dream of. You're going to have to work for it, but you're entitled to love, you're entitled to joy, you're entitled to happiness. And that's why princesses, and that's ultimately why this story, right? Like, it was the entire beginnings of what would become Deadly Ever After, and honestly how I even crafted the backstories for Amala and Khadijah, because I was thinking a lot about think of, that meme where like all the Disney princesses like over their bed like like crying. We don't get that. It's a certain level of, you're allowed to be fragile, you're allowed to cry, you're allowed to have this breakdown in the middle of the garden numerous times, that you're allowed to have this. I never felt that, and I know a lot of other Black girls didn't. I know a lot of Black girls who struggled with anxiety, who struggled with depression, who struggled with grief, who struggled with whatever it may be, but because we all know these things can manifest in unsavory ways that, due to the isms, it can be seen as aggression. It can be seen as, oh, you're just hostile, you're a monster, you're just and it feels like I've heard on both sides of the spectrum, oh, I have to be stronger, and they're telling me that I'm too soft and I'm too this, and oh, people are telling me that I'm too angry and I'm too this and I'm too that, when really it's kind of the exact same thing. All of this came together, this ideology surrounding happily ever after, this ideology surrounding deserving the love and to be cared for in community and your dreams, and the real life implications of just what it means to be, whether it's Black or, queer, whether it's just any form of marginalizations, any form of othering, and not being able to have the full experience of being human and sit in your emotions. That's ultimately why I chose princesses and why I paired it with Amala and Khadijah, and how it really shaped both sides of their story, where we have the overly soft, we have the overly tenacious, but I always joke, they're just two sides of the same coin. If Khadijah is way more sensitive than Amala, if you know, like, but because Amala is the crybaby, you would think otherwise, you know what I mean? So that's really where it came from. And just as a personal aside, I lived in Orlando. I like to joke and say that I am a closeted Disney adult, and every time I tell people, they say the closet is a glass box, and I'm like, well. But having been in Orlando, having worked in theme parks, especially I think in certain roles, you start seeing the effect that fairy tales specifically have on people. When you've had people come up to you, and they're crying and telling you how this specific story helped them get through a very hard time in their life. I don't know if anyone's picking up what I'm putting down here. This is another if you know moment, but I think it really just showed the power of a fairy tale, and it showed that it is more than possible to have something that is frothy and beautiful and lush and romantic and all of those things that make you love fairy tales, but also something that really just hits close to home and that makes you feel seen and heard and talks to those little like nuances of the human experience for those who are othered. That's my spiel. So I'm gonna go through some of these comments because I missed a few of them. awakening was, yeah, listen, Holly Berry is Catwoman. I will never forget. Do I have it? It's over in the corner. When I was a little girl, this is like nothing relating to DEA, but it is completely relating to, I guess, what would have been my realization that I'm queer as a kid. I had this obsession with cats, which is funny because if you know me now, I'm like the millennial dog mom. We dropped my dog off with her sitter right before we did this, right before I got on here, and she had a suitcase worth of stuff, and I had like almost a whole memorandum of this is what you do, this is how you take care of her, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Right. But I was obsessed with cats, and I didn't know anything about Catwoman. I just saw cat and then woman. So I'm sitting there with my cat stuffed animals as like a 6-year-old, just maybe. And as I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, this isn't as much about cats as I thought it would be. But then Holly Berry has that one scene when she's walking on the catwalk. When she's walking on that catwalk, and she's wearing the little, like, the let it get up. And I remember sitting there and being like, I like that. But of course, I was young and for a million reasons would not make the connection for a very long time. But that is, I think, the first time that I remember feeling attraction was just literally seeing Holly Berry as Catwoman. And it was that one specific scene. And I was holding, I'm going to get up for a second, only because I want to show you the exact stuffed animal I was holding, because I still have her. I don't know if my brother is here, my brother Devon specifically, but she's very old. This is Fluffy. And I was 6, sitting there with Fluffy, just like this. And yeah. So that is how I realized I was queer. Well, I should have realized I was queer. If we lived in a different world back in like 2003, I would have realized I was queer. But, you know, you live, you learn, the world gets more accepting before it doesn't again. Going back to these comments, they relate to the feeling of being an ND child. Yeah, feeling things so deeply. Yo. I don't know if like this is your story, but everybody in my family is basically neurodivergent. They won't claim it. They're probably going to be mad that I even said it. But listen, game recognizes game, homie. And so for me, it was like one of those in the household. I felt very normal. But when I left the household, I wasn't, because it's a household full of Black women with ADHD. Yeah, like I always joke, to get a conversation out in my house, it was kind of just verbal Game of Thrones. You have to talk somebody else off their sentence. Like, good luck. But it's feeling things deeply, the all the habits, they just went missed because surrounded by it, you know. But yeah, it was not very welcome outside the house. So hearts to you. We are in the same boat. As an eldest child, I'm certainly the most least expressive about it. Yeah, oldest child core is, funnily enough, I'm both the baby sister and the middle child, but yeah, I get it. I think that's really the most I can kind of say about that. All I'm gonna say is I get it. It's hard being in a position of leadership, whether you choose it or not, and you have to carry through. If you want, this actually connects to DEA. There was, without spoilers, a storyline that was abandoned. And it made it up literally, I think, until one of the final versions of the manuscript. And it's with a character named Lady Nevaeh. And I was tempted to explore that with Amala. And for a few reasons, I kind of had to drop that storyline. Partially because with Amala's story being what it is and having so much to do with the expectations of a very, it's not even just patriarchal, like it's way past that. I joke and say that if anyone here knows this reference, I don't know, but I joke and say Amala's from Hotep land. If you know, you know. And I think being so emotional and not being able to express it, but also not really being able to hold it back in, that I thought would have been really interesting. But I kind of got to a point with both Amala and Khadijah where I realized I'm putting y'all through too much. there's only so much I can do. I made this post on Instagram, actually. Yes, I was on Instagram. And it was about how one of the biggest reasons I did not explore sexuality in and of itself, as far as the girls realizing that they're queer on the page, is because of the fact that I'm putting them there's so much going on. The themes, they're heavy. I'm doing it with a light touch. So it's not like watching, I'm trying to think, like, it's not like you're being inundated with something where it's just like, this is too much. Like, I do it with as delicate a touch as I can, because I was trying to think about the people with the experiences that are in the book. That way it didn't become like the sensationalized 13 reasons why. I didn't want it to become like Netflix 13 reasons why. You know what I mean? If you get the drift. But that being said, it also, I feel like there's so many random storylines in Deadly Ever After, backstories in Deadly Ever After. There's so many things that I wish more than anything I was able to go into, because I wanted to dive so much more into all the different things, such as family dynamics. And I do it a little bit with Khadijah, with her being the youngest sister, but I think that there's definitely eldest sibling core that I just didn't get to explore, but I wanted to. And I came very close. And then I said, I gotta give these girls a break. I love y'all. I can't do this to y'all over and over and over again. I still did, but sequel. So that is not a vague smile. That is not a vague smile. I want to be very clear about that. There are no current planned sequels for Deadly Ever After currently. But that being said, that was not always the case. There are other stories in the garden that I know exist, even just with characters that you've already seen. And at one point in an older ending, I alluded towards that a bit more. The garden is such a cool place, right? Because it is a mirror. You get to explore the parts of yourself through this land, and that's really what I wanted this to be. I think that when some early readers read Deadly Ever After, back when it was Diamonds and Their Wildflowers, throwback, they didn't quite realize that it wasn't going to be a Hunger Games scenario, right? That was never the intention. That was never the purpose for this story. I really wanted to focus on a land that mirrored who you were, your struggles. And the more you fight those struggles, the worse the land gets. And there's certain struggles that Amal and Khadijah just don't have, that when I think about all the different areas in the garden, and this is not a spoiler, but one of the goddesses called the Elders, the first one who approaches Amala and Khadijah, she talks about how there's a tundra area, like a little Arctic, and she's like, but if you see that, you've gone too far. That is 100% true. And I really wanted to explore that, and I couldn't. I would love one day to venture back into the garden. I think after 5 years, it is break time just a little bit, because it has been 5 years in this world. But I have ideas. I know where I would go. I know the exact story I would tell. I've known it for about 5 years, actually. I've always known. It's just, I feel like with the writer I am now and the ways that I would approach the garden now, it's like same world, very different vibe, but still a lot of fun with similar Britney themes, But we'll see. Like I said, that was not a vague smile. But going back to these comments, I'm 82, I'm 43 now, and neurodivergent, so it took me until my mid-30s to come to terms with my sexuality and sense of self. Yeah, that's very common. Like, that is, the 43 in parentheses is very, I've been a 60-year-old woman for 20 years of my life, so I get that. But, listen, that's so fair and valid, and just, I remember that was another reason I actually chose not to go into sexuality that much in the book. I think that I ended up coming out not by accident, but I was the person who went back and forth with queerness for so long. I was the queer person who was like, oh yeah, I would be. I think at that point, I specifically was saying bisexual. Like, yeah, I would be bisexual, but I see myself marrying a man probably, so doesn't really count. Oh. Isn't that silly? But I said that for years. And I think that if I had never said that for years, I would have realized way younger. But I think that, especially prior to the mid 2010s, when we started seeing just a touch bit more representation, acceptance, this, that, and the third, whatever you want to call it. But like the 2000s, the early 2010s, the going back before then, like what a world. And I think that for anybody who was alive at that point, who, whether they knew they were queer earlier on, or whether that delay kind of happened of realizing and then also accepting it, which can happen, because I ended up finding my partner and now it feels like, does it matter? It's like, yes, of course it matters. Come sit with us. Of course it does, but it's so common. And I once had a pilot that was like, because I moved to California to actually screenwrite, fun fact. And in the pilot, it was about a almost 30-year-old woman who was realizing very late that she might be gay. And it was basically a sexual awakening, Sex in the City, because every freaking screenwriter has a Sex in the City comp at some point in their life. But I'll never forget it. It was very chewing gum, if you know that show. It was very chewing gum coded. Another comp that I kind of used was anybody remember the Facebook show with Nicole Byer in it? It was like that, if those two things had a baby. But about 3 late 20 kind of new girl aged adults who were in their own journeys with figuring out who they are, like in regards to queerness. It was called Homo Intended, which I thought was funny, because no homo intended. Oh, comedy. But I'm not doing anything with it now. So yeah, it's such a common experience, and it's one of my favorite things whenever I do meet up with somebody who's like, I can tell they're on that precipice, and I'm just like, oh baby, you'll be here eventually. We'll be waiting, I'm happy in this, whether it's Deadly Ever After, all the other queer books that are getting published, man, I am so happy that at least this new generation has a little bit something more than what we did, because Lordy, it's really weird watching people, partially because younger generations are getting older. They weren't alive in the 2000s, right? Or the 2010s. They don't know. It's just they just don't know. And I have I have a niece. She's like 6 months old now, and it's so exciting being able to buy her picture books and build her a collection of media with queerness front and center, and being able to have her in a world where, even though the world is it's a little scary out there, y'all, but even though the world's a little scary, knowing that, I'm not even going to say that there's resources, right? Because I feel like that's not even the right word, but that there's just, we're just there. We're just there. We're just there. Like that, there is no intellectual way. We're just there. And I'm happy that she gets to see that. And it's something that I really wish that I did too. Insert representation, conversation that you could easily stem from here, but not my favorite conversation to have. So, because it feels like I'm never adding anything really new to the representation conversation, but all those points that could be made, they're made. I actually wanted to talk a little bit about something kind of interesting when it comes to Deadly Ever After, and some of the really weird things that happened in the ways that this book developed over time, right? Oops, I just kicked my whole setup. So Deadly Ever After, I started writing it back in April 2020, in the beginnings of quarantine in Florida. Now remember, quarantine in Florida was basically 3 blanks long. So it was a very short period where I actually got the entire first draft of this novel done. It was during the 2020 publishing craze of, we want more Black voices. it happens, but through having the time where I was currently furloughed, soon to be laid off from a theme park, because I was in Orlando at that point, and having that time to really explore the beginnings of this story, it gave me what I needed to get running. It helped me get agented, this, that, and the third. Fun fact, Deadly Ever After started as a single point of view story. It started as just Amala's point of view. It wasn't actually a dual point of view in the beginning, and it was my agent's suggestion of, would you consider upgrading Khadijah? The original version of this manuscript, which is so buried in my emails. It is very, very bad. Very, very bad. But I was really inspired by The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. I love stories with alternative formats. And I'm just going to be very frank. I'm not at a position to attempt a story in alternative format right now. I like my peace and sleep. And I'm already too stressed. But I remember, because I knew I wanted to do a fairy tale, I knew I wanted it to be an ode to the emotional spectrum of Black kids and, you know, anybody who can relate to this type of situation. I originally tried to tell it as a single Amala story, and instead of having the character, like the character background reveal of this person tells their backstory and this person does, you know, you find out about their backstory. We found out about them through these mini, like, basically breaks in the story that were titled The Tale of So-and-so, that filled in all of the background information about the character that necessarily Amala didn't know, but to the reader. So, because I was trying to do like a fun alternative, I don't know. I think the idea was cool, but I also think it was bad. In execution, did not work. So the first version of the story, we would still find out all of the information about who this character was and why they're like this, especially Khadijah. She was the last backstory that we got at all the way at the end, to the point where, for those of you who have read, my advanced readers, after chapter 26, I believe it is currently 26. After chapter 26, if you know, you know, if you have a copy, you can look at what that chapter is. But after chapter 26, we finally learned the entire backstory, top to bottom, about Khadijah. And until then, it was a little bit more of a secret. Again, horrible in execution. But I thought it was kind of fun. And we completely nerfed that. We said, no, we're not doing that anymore. We upgraded Khadijah into a main point of view character. And Amala's story genuinely has not really changed from the beginnings of this whole process to the end. It's been deepened a bit, especially her relationship with her father and a bit of her father's backstory and how it relates to everything in the book. But Khadijah is, I almost want to say, she's the one who went through the biggest transformation. The base motivations changed, but what changed to Khadijah is your girl had a starts of the relationship with grief in real life. I always forget what I can and can't talk about, and I have to think about what the promo says. But Khadijah, she's on a quest to basically live out her dead brother's dreams, right? And because of that, she has this list of places, like all across the world, where they were supposed to go together, and she's going there by herself, basically to live this moment for him so he can kind of live vicariously through her, even though he's dead. And I remember that when I first wrote it, it was still that storyline. That was her conviction. But as time went on, the first, a little bit of death talk, but I'm not getting too deep into it because I don't feel like it at the moment. But I experienced my ESA, my emotional support animal, Roxy. If you know, you know. She died due in July 2020. And that was when I first understood what death-related grief really deeply felt like, which completely changed how I wrote about grief. So there was a lot of adding to Khadijah's emotional lore, so to speak, from that perspective. Then, as sadly lost a few more souls along the way, it kept deepening. New plot points were added, plot points were taken away, that leading up to last year when we were in like the big revision chunk, the And I almost ripped up the entire second act of this book for Khadijah's sake, because going through an experience where you actually saw someone transition, death-wise, not, okay, and you get the point, where someone dies with dreams that they didn't get to live out. Oh, Khadijah and I, we're besties, aren't we? Shoot, I'm sorry I made this your backstory. But that's where a lot of, I think, the book really changed, and it really became what it is today. And Khadijah did not stop becoming Khadijah until really October of last year. Amala stayed the exact same, more or less. Some dialogue changed, but she was always the same. I knew her from the ground up, but Khadijah, she was the one who took a lot of getting to know over the years. She was the one who I had to experience so much more of life. I think that when you're in the beginnings of the publishing journey, it's always, oh, I want it to happen now. I want it to happen now. And one of the biggest reasons I'm so thankful that it didn't sell the first time we put it on sub, or that it wasn't ready all those years ago, is because while I would never trade a published book for the lives that I've lost, I do think that having that firsthand relationship with grief is what made this story what it is, and what made Khadijah who she was. And it also helped me tackle, I think, some of the more nuanced parts of her storyline, especially when it comes to her family background. So that is a Deadly Ever After fun fact about the conception of grief and how it changed these characters, and how it ultimately made this story not even just different, but it ripped it up, tore it apart, put it back together, and made it a lot better. For when readers read, for those who've read chapter 24 is my all-time favorite in the entire book for this exact reason. Fun fact. So, my service dogs are Tashi's 8-year-old golden. Yeah, it's so tough. Oh my gosh. Like I said, I'm not trying to get too deep because my heart, I already got up to show one of my stuffed animals. I have Roxy was a Pomeranian. Let's see if I can pull up a photo of her. She was a Pomeranian, and she was such a character. I can't speak a lot about future projects. I'm going to talk a little bit about later, but I will say that there is a character in a newer project that is directly inspired by her. But when you can tell they're getting so old, and it's so tough. We have a dog that we just recently, where we were watching a dog for my boyfriend's father. His name was Scotty. He was 17 years old. 17. And when I tell you, I think this dog was running on spite and fumes because he was kicking. And it's just, I remember being very afraid every single day, but seeing, it makes you just appreciate the time that you have. And it makes you just appreciate the fact that they're there, and knowing that you can give them this experience every single aspect of life until that horrible moment comes. But tell your dog, I love your dog, and give them a hug for me. I do want to show y'all Roxy because it is a fun Easter egg in this book, but I don't know if you can really see, but this was Roxy. It's not the best photo, but the final location where Khadijah is going right after she dies, where she was heading after you get what I'm trying to say, was a place called Roxy. And when I was talking to another friend who asked why I chose that name, this was when she was very old and very fat. She's a fat old Pomeranian. She was everything. She was the sweetest girl until McDonald's came around. She could identify the McDonald's golden arches, let me tell you. But the reason I even chose Roxy as that final destination name is because Roxy was my North Star. She was that coming home, so to speak, that ESA that did keep me here, that ESA that reminded me that, hey, you have a place to always come back to. And I thought that that was very fitting for what Khadijah would go through. What I put her through, I think, is the better phrase. I think in a few minutes we can start. I'm going to start loading up this giveaway. just because it's going to take me a little bit of time to pull it up. I am very excited for it. But do we have any other questions in the meantime while I pull this up? I love yapping with y'all. There is this part of me that has heavily considered basically doing, I almost want to call them like author FaceTimes, and having these types of calls with like these types of live streams, but doing it with another author and it just not being deeply book related. I don't know if this makes me a bad professional or what, but sometimes I think when I'm really excited to interact with artists or creatives, I like knowing not just the work that they're working on, but like really not who, in the least parasocial sense, who are you? Like, what, are you a Coke or Pepsi person? You know what I mean? Like, I think it's so interesting learning the person behind the art as much as it is learning about the art. And I feel like just doing a very fun series of sitting here with like other authors and just talking about whatever. Doesn't have to be book related, doesn't have to be craft related, doesn't have to be, so how do you revise? No, I want to know if it was the apocalypse, you can choose one store that you have to bunker down in for the rest of for the entire apocalypse. Where would it be? Or even better, what city would it be? I am on a big diet. I'm having a big Diet Coke moment. It's like very, it's a slight problem. On my birthday, this is actually the perfect story leading into this giveaway. My birthday was about almost a month ago. It was October 4th. And on my birthday, the day or two before, I really wanted a Diet Coke. I had like an Olipop obsession for like 3-4 months. But right now my ADHD is really into Diet Coke. And I went to the Vons near my apartment, which is the grocery store here. All the Diet Coke was gone. Unless I wanted to buy a 12-pack. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that because I won't have self-control. I don't want to do that. So I go to my boyfriend. I'm like, I just want a Diet Coke. He goes, okay. I'm like, there's no Diet Coke. We have to go find one. So we went to like 3 different stores, like restaurants that have like little kiosks. Cause I'm like, I just want a Diet Coke. We walked a half mile just so I could get a Diet Coke. So yeah, that Diet Coke is very felt. That Diet Coke is very, very, very felt. Okay. So let's open up a giveaway generator and figure this out. So how many people here, if you're watching, because I'm seeing the same 3 people commenting right now, so, but I'm seeing that there's more people here. If you've entered the giveaway, if you want to make my life a little bit easier, feel free to drop an emoji, drop some heart. Oh wait, I can say, is this like when I can say chat? Am I showing my age right now? Like drop some emojis in the chat. Did I say that right? I didn't. But let's go for it. So if you already are here and you entered the giveaway, drop some emojis. Let me see them. I'm going to give it some time to load because there's a bit of a lag on my side, which you can probably tell. And we're going to get this started. Oh, I hated Diet Coke 6 months ago. Fun fact. Literally hated Diet Coke 6 months ago. Despised it. Now I like it though. And I'm probably going to end up hating it again soon. It's just one of those things. Like now I'm not a fan of Olipop anymore. And I was going to the corner store every single day, getting an Olipop. So listen, I understand your dislike for Diet Coke. I kind of still don't like it. That's the gag. I kind of still don't like Diet Coke. Okay. Here and entered. Alrighty. Anybody else? Is that all? Alrighty. Well, let's do this. I'd say drum roll, but y'all can't. You can't really drum roll. So, okay. Oops, nope, they're not in the US. That one didn't work. We're going to try this again. Listen to Mexican Cokes with cane sugar. Ah, those are the good ones. Okay, let's see, I have a name. Let's double check. But I haven't seen an emoji drop by this person, so I do not know if they're alive right now, but we will find out. Okay. Is Sky Easton? Are you here? Are you here at the moment? I'm gonna give a few seconds. I'm gonna pick a runner-up just in case. But technically they won the giveaway, but I don't see them being here. Let me see if I can like refresh the chat. See. I'm really excited about this giveaway though, I'm not gonna lie. I actually have more coming up. A lot more. I'm saving them. I was gonna do a few surprise ones on here, but I'm waiting for Skyla because we really want to do this together. So, alrighty. I'm not seeing anything here. Alrighty. Well, I guess we are moving on. Okay. Coming up next. Let's see. Is Adriana H2O's here? Adriana, you in the building? If you in the building. If you're in the building, say hello. If you're not in the building, then don't say anything at all. Because then you're not here. I hope you're liking my song. Alrighty, we're gonna give a little bit more time. Alrighty. I'll give it 2 more minutes. And in the meantime, let's show what these prizes are again, just in case, because I have a feeling that they're probably not here. So, of course, you're going to get a signed copy of Deadly Ever After plus an author letter. The author letter I don't have on my physical person right now because they're all signed in the other room, but you're gonna get a personalized author letter. Eye patches, because listen, these dark circles are very serious, seeing the news every single day. So we have eye patches, we have a face mask, and then we also have a notebook, because lots of journaling. I've gotten a lot of people who've read DEA who basically told me, yeah, I had to journal after that. And I was like, oh, good to know. So if any emotions come up, anything that you want to talk about, you're going to have a journal for it, okay? I'm giving another minute, but after the other minute, I already pulled up the next person it would be. So just in case, because I only see a few people here. But because comments take a while to come through, do we have any other questions to be answered about Deadly Ever After? Anything else that you want to know? I'm willing to really, I know I've said, I don't feel like talking about that like 4 times, but I really will almost answer any question that I can answer. Thank you for being here, Ray. I appreciate it. Hearts. And everybody, go order Ray's books. Meow. All of them. Please. Alrighty. Bye, sweet pea. Alrighty. Load up any questions that you may have, and let's go for the next person who I know is here. Is Coley the Sapphic here? Congratulations, you are the next person that was pulled up. Yay! Because I saw your emoji, so I do know that you're here. So congratulations, I deeply appreciate it. I'm going to DM you the email to send me your information to, and I'm going to make it a point to email all of this out to you soon. As I drop things, I'm so sorry. But I'm gonna make it a point to send all of this out to you soon. And thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for being here, and you're absolutely amazing. So I appreciate it, and I hope this gives you a fun little self-care night, okay? Because you deserve that. We all deserve that. Alrighty. So, do we have any other pressing questions about Deadly Ever After? Do you want me to just yap for a little bit more? I'm probably planning on being on here, let's say 10-ish more minutes, unless y'all have anything else that is on your mind. I guess I will talk about a little bit about the tour coming up. So for those of you who are in Florida, tomorrow obviously we're going to be in Los Angeles after in Pasadena at Octavia's Bookshelf from 2 to 4. Everything's up here. I don't have it in front of me. After that, we are actually having an author happy hour at Book and Bottle in St. Petersburg, Florida. I love Book and Bottle so much. More so the book than the bottle. But it's going to be a really fun event. There's going to be discounts on food. There's going to be discounts on wine. Not food, just wine. I'm thinking of Epcot because I'm doing an Epcot trip to celebrate while I'm there because, you know, Disney adult closet is a glass box. But yes, we have the author happy hour at Book and Bottle on the 4th. On the 7th, we are doing a actual author chat at Steamy Lit in Tampa, which I'm so excited for. It's very special because my partner, I don't know, I'm going to do a little shameless plug here. If you are on YouTube or you like YouTube videos, you should look up Savage Books. He makes YouTube videos basically explaining how to write better. based on your favorite TV shows, especially if you're into fantasy, horror, or psychological thrillers. He is absolutely amazing at what he does. There may be a Deadly Ever After video coming, maybe. So you should go subscribe, but also watch to kind of understand his style and how he talks and how he analyzes fiction. He's also a mental health professional, and there are some very big mental health themes in this book. So the conversation in this at Steamy Lit is going to be so much fun, and I am so freaking excited for it. It's going to be a night to remember for sure, especially because the Tampa community, again, as we mentioned, is home. St. Pete Tampa is home. So make sure that if you are in the area, you check that out. And the final Florida event will be on the 9th. We're doing an author signing at the New Romantics over in Orlando, well, obviously in Orlando. I was trying to think of what area in Orlando. I can't think off the top of my head. But today is also there. I think 1 year anniversary, if Threads is correct. Maybe I saw the post late. But I'm really excited to support this bookstore. They have been absolutely amazing. I've seen amazing things, and they have been just the sweetest. So if you want to come on by, I think it's 4 to 6 on the 9th. Come on by, and we're going to do a signing, and we're going to have a great time. And after that, we have a little bit of a gap. Hopefully somewhere in there we can fit in another virtual call with Skyla and I. I have another talk with Veronica Bain coming up on the 18th. And then I will be at In Bloom Bookery over in Temecula, California for the final event on the 20th. I don't know what sleep is. I don't know what it is. I don't. I really admire authors who have like 20 date tours. Because y'all, this is a lot. But I'm so excited. And I think that I'm finally in a place, if I'm being completely transparent here, just due to the prep of getting ready for this tour, it has been really stressful. Which I knew it would be stressful. And that's just been, I can actually have some things I can say about debut season as a whole, if I'm being honest with you about stress. But for some reason, I wasn't expecting the tour to be as stressful as it's been for me. It's probably been the most stressful part of this debut launch season, only because of the logistics and due to, sadly, things that are happening in the government. Shutdown wise, for personal reasons, I have been directly affected by that, and this tour has been affected by that for reasons I just won't be going into for other people's privacy. But it has just been changing logistics every single day and trying to figure out what's happening, what's not happening. And I also did lose a job earlier this year, which impacted a lot of everything. So it has been a lot. It's been a lot. But it was yesterday when I got my nails done, and this shows I'm so freaking vain. Because yesterday when I got my nails done, 2 days ago I got my nails done, and yesterday I got my hair done, and that's when I said, oh, I'm excited again. So maybe I just needed to get my nails done. I don't really know. Who knows? But I'm so pumped. It felt fun talking with y'all about like little snippets of DEA and little like parts of it that I haven't really spoken about before. I'm excited to dive deeper into it, and I think after having not spoken about Deadly Ever After for 5 years, I'm not an author who's very good at hinting at things I'm writing about. I'm trying it out. I've been doing it with my current work in progress. But as a general whole, I'm not very good at hinting and vague posting about my whatever I'm working on, especially if I'm contracted. I'm scared, y'all. I'm so scared. I'm gonna start talking about like something I'm working on that might just be contracted, and I'm just gonna like look up at a roof across the street and see like just the penguin teen penguin being like, you know what I mean? Like I'm scared. So it's nice finally being able to yap, especially because I just did not really have a lot of people to talk about Deadly Ever After while I was writing it and while I was making it and while it was coming together. It was a lot of friends, it was a lot of family. I think my mom, because without her, I probably wouldn't have even continued with this story, because I wrote the first chapter. Now it's chapter 2. Chapter 2 hasn't changed a lot, but I wrote what was the first chapter, which was the current chapter 2. I just emailed it to my mom in the email and said, do you think this is worth pursuing? And she said, yeah, I want to know what happens next. And I said, I bet. And that was the first domino that fell. So I'm really excited to actually sit and talk to people. The last thing I'll talk about is just like debut. I guess if I'm going to leave a little bit of advice, I don't know how many other authors are watching, beginning authors or authors hoping to get published, whatever it may be, authors who just are authors, creatives, I don't care. Whoever wants to just hear me yap. But I will say that something I'm so thankful for, so thankful for, the amount of authors who have gone above and beyond before me to talk about what the realities of this is like. I think we all see the social media conversation of the pushing the needle, pulling the needle, whatever it is. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I am in every single thing that I do. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. If I am not 10 toes down in this, I'm not doing it. I like being very intentional about what I do. I like caring about what I do. I like putting my entire focus into what I'm doing. And if I feel like I'm only doing something because it's going to be a check mark on a box, you know what I mean? One, I hate it. I can't make my brain make me do it. That's the ADHD in me. But also past that point, it doesn't perform well. It doesn't do well. And I have seen for years authors in Canva, my number one nemesis, me and Canva, like me and hate Canva. Canva's a great app. Absolutely great app. Canva's such an amazing app. I don't hate Canva. I hate personally using Canva. It's an amazing app. I just personally hate it for myself because I'm not a graphic designer, but I know when things are supposed to look good and I don't know things look good. I don't know how to make it look good, and that's why I hate Canva. But either way, I see people in Canva like clocking in full-time hours, like always doing lives and always doing these and always doing this, and then seeing them talk about it after and saying, this did nothing for me. And I like social media. I like really like, I'm a digital content strategist, fun fact. So I know how to do this, but I'm not going to do it at expense of myself, and I'm not going to do it if I know my heart's not in it, because when my heart is in it and I'm having fun, you can tell. The post I made the other day where it was me and the penguin head, that was a whim gone too far. That, I don't think I have a latex allergy, but my eyes were irritated from that mask for like the rest of the night. That was a very quick idea that I had, but I had fun with it. Me walking around in that dang dress that was hot as anything, talking to people who did not want to talk to me. That was fun. It's the theater kid in me. I think that when you love what you're making, whether it's books, whether it's social media graphics, marketing, promo, just whatever it may be, I think it really shows. And for that reason, generally speaking, my debut season so far, outside of launch and tour and all that, I've been chilling. I've been cool. Like, it hasn't really been, I think, as stressful as I expected it to be for me personally, but I think it's only because I knew from jump I know this is a Black Sapphic story. Do I have to say more about that in today's climate? So, I already knew to not have and not have certain expectations. And the last thing I wanted to do was to get so wrapped up in, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to make this, I have to that I stop enjoying it. And it kind of almost happened specifically just because of outliers in my world and other stressful things that was happening. And I'm happy as a whole that I did make that decision, because now, honestly, this tour is the only truly deeply stressful thing that I have been through throughout this debut period after getting through revisions. If you know about my punch card, my emotional breakdown punch card during revisions, drop emojis in the chat because I posted about that before. But I'm happy that I really made that decision, and I think that now that this event has happened and I've kind of broken that ice, some of the anxiety has dissipated, and now that tomorrow I'm going to be having a physical in-person event. Bye, Jenny! Thank you so much for everything. You're the absolute best. Appreciate you dearly. I think that now we're going to actually be kicking things off. The excitement is back. I'm ready, and like the stress feels very minimal for now. It'll probably come back tonight. Who knows? But I have to say, overall, this has been a pretty chill, good, fun debut season, and all of the support, all of the love from y'all, the ways I see, I'm having problems responding to everything right now, but I see every comment. I see that like is left for me. I see when I'm tagged. I see the love. I see the support from other authors, from book bloggers, from just readers, from friends, from family, and I want you to know that I deeply appreciate it so much. And there isn't anything that I take for granted. And I am just so thankful that I am able to share this experience with y'all, and that you're willing to give your time, your money, your energy back to me. I cannot tell you how deeply touched I really am by it. And for those of you who have read Deadly Ever After, thank you so much for having read it. Thank you so much for giving your time. Thank you so much for really being here with me. For those of you who have not read Deadly Ever After, but you plan to, I appreciate the support. For those of you who have pre-ordered, thank you. For those of you who just have spent time with me here, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank yous go all around. I am just, again, I'm just so thankful to be here with y'all. Okay? Well, I am so excited. I am going to message the giveaway winner so we can get that rolling. And thank y'all for being here so much. And this was fun. So maybe I'll